Okay, the base is drying here, and we're going to work on this column with the stone and dry brush. And so I'm going to go back. The color that I'm actually using is, from Vallejo, but it's a stone gray out of the Flames of War pack. But it's Vallejo paint for stone gray. And I'm just going to put a little bit out. Once again, I'm going to use a dry brush, and let's just take a look at that for a second here and kind of see how it looks. The bottom's already done with it pretty well, but I need to do all of this section. I don't think I'm going to mess with the bottom too much because I like the way it looks. But I'm just going to lightly dry brush in a circle to pull out the colors and the texture that I'm looking for. Just try to make it as even as possible. And you can see how that's turning out, but I feel pretty good about the way that's turning out. You can really see that texture, which is what I was looking for. And then the base is not quite adhered to where it needs to be. Well, as I said earlier, I'm doing this all in one day, and that glue needs time to really adhere. So that looks pretty good, but I still need to put just a little bit more of the stone gray right on the top on this base piece. And I'm not going to worry, like I said, so much about getting it on the miniature because I am going to paint a different technique altogether on it. But I want this stone to look right. And then it's going to be a game of, can I, paint the other piece without messing up the stone look? That's just going to have to work that way. Yeah, I'm really digging how that's looking. And I think I'm really happy with this. I'm just going to take a look at it. I think that looks a lot like stone, and I'm very happy with that. It really has that mottled look of what stone would look like. And I think I'm going to add just a highlight of bleach bone. Bleach bone is a little dark. I'm going to mix it up a little bit better. Let's see. Yeah, that's a little bit better. I actually think it might be too dark for what I'm looking for, but I can find out really fast. Let's see here. No, that'll do what I wanted to do. Just to lighten it up slightly. Like I said, I want these kind of splotchy looks to it here and there. Like it's got wear on it. Now, this base is really well done now. It's nice and dry. What I'm going to do is I'm going to work back in with a yellow, which needs to be mixed up better. That was a royal mess. All right, let me shake this up a little bit better. This is like buckstone out of the Reaper line. It's kind of a pale yellow. Just want to work over this dry brush on this other color. Onto this terrain. Oh no, one of my rocks came up. Not the end of the world. Just needed, because I'm rushing it, if I had let this dry overnight, it would have done a whole lot better, but I was trying to like do it all in one day for you guys, just to kind of show you. Could be done in one day. But we can also fix any of these pieces with super glue in just a minute. So that it won't look too bad. But I'll get the glue, I'll get the paint in first, and then we'll glue back what needs to be glued back. All right, so that's my second thing, and then I'm going to look for all right, and so my last little bit of dry brush in here is this off-white. I need another paper towel. I'm sorry, the table's shaking a little bit. All right, I'm going to do the off-white into the stone and the base and the tower all at the same time. And then I'll glue back in the spots of rock that have come loose. Right, just a little bit more of the off-white for the tower itself and the stone. The piece up here. And then we'll move on to the actual figure. All right. All the pieces of terrain come off because I needed more time to adhere. All right, that looks very good. Just making sure that any of these darker spots of white kind of get brushed out. So that it doesn't look too odd, but looks like I said, a normal wear pattern on the tower. Yeah, it's looking good. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. Definitely looks like stone. And let me fix this base up with the rocks. I'm going to use super glue because we're trying to make this kind of adhere in a spot that already has glue and sand on it. And that is a little tough. All right. Let's see here. I think this piece goes back in there. Oh, I see. This piece went here. Perfecto. This little rock there. All right. It's looking a lot better. Now what I'm going to do, just touch up any of those rocks that maybe didn't get the full treatment with a little bit. I must have had a rock move from here. All right. I feel like that one's just going to come back off. All right, I'm going to take a look at it one more time. The only thing I see is that because I've moved a couple of things around, there's some white spots that I really need to touch up with this brown that I started with. So I'm going to water this down just a little bit. It was a little too much. It's always difficult to work back into a piece once you've dry brushed, but this needs to be done so it doesn't look funny later. Just all these little white dots here and there. I think that's it. And what I'll do is I'll end up putting flocking there, or some sort of flock or static grass in those spots so that it'll look a little bit more natural. All right, that should be it. What I'm going to do now is clean up my water, clean up my mess that I just made, wash some brushes, and put everything away that we don't need so that we can get back to painting the miniature. Okay, everybody. I am going to start painting on this figure, and I've got to be really careful at the bottom here. But I'm going to do the figure in bronze. That was my plan from the beginning, was to kind of do a bronzy gold with a green wash. Really make this piece stand out. I'm going to add water, of course, to my bronze color here. I'm using 10E10 from the Vallejo line, but it's the same as many of the other colors, and the same, that darkest bronze color, the deepest one, on their palette. I'm just adding water till I get to the right consistency. I don't want it to be too loose, but I also don't want it to be too thick. I want it to flow really nice on this miniature. That looks about right. And just the only thing that I'll point out that I do on a regular basis is If I use a metallic with my water, I usually switch my water out, before I start painting another color because the metallic flakes stick in it. So I'm going to just start doing this base coat. I'm using a pretty big size brush. It's a 3 in this series. Like I said, I want to get all these lowest parts first, and I'll work my way up, because it's really important to me to not get the brass or bronze on the plinth here, so that I don't mess up my stonework. So I'm trying to be as careful as possible, although as miniature painters we all know crap happens. All right. Rolling right along, because we're doing just one color for this base coat. It makes it very simple to paint this miniature. If you're really painting this miniature, it would be a little bit tedious. I probably would have left it off the plinth so that I could paint it a little easier, but in this case, I thought putting it on there was the best thing.
I'm going to be super careful here.
You just want this bronze color all the way through, everywhere you can possibly get it, no black left behind, because if you do this technique right, this is going to show off really, really well. So I'm really having to kind of seek out all the little bitty uncovered places that nobody's really going to see, but it will make a difference with the final product if I'm careful to get all of the bronze that I want in the right place. This is really tricky back in there.
Can't really get the that's looking pretty good.
Now I did a head swap. What I did was I put a high elf helmet on the miniature, and then we put this high elf white lion, high elf white lion, so that 5 times fast. Mask that's actually the head for the chariot lions. I put that on the front, and I'll show you that in just a second, to kind of complete the look that I was going for. Okay, let's get the back of this flag. I think this is going to look so good as a bronze piece. Running out of bronze. All right, pause. Let me put out just a little bit more. You can see that mask really well right now. Lion head. I just thought that was a nice touch to this miniature. Make it look like an Eldar god for the high elves of the old world. Of course, the phoenix is on the banner as well as on the top of the banner. And we're not going to pick out any detail other than just normal painting, because like I said, what we want to do is we're going to do 2 coats here. Let it, each coat we're going to let dry really well, but we're going to do a coat of this dark color. Then we're going to mix an antique gold, which is a color that I'm using in my army, and the bronze together as a 50-50 mix. Then I'm going to wash it, and then I'm going to highlight on top of that. The wash I'm going to use, of course, is a green wash, just so it'll look just like a bronze statue in real life. It's been outside and weathered. All right, that's looking pretty good. Almost done here. Like I said, it's really important on this coat more than any other to make sure that you're getting in all the recesses. It's just going to make it have a more complete look at the end if we do. Okay, I think that's done. I'll let that dry for just a second, and then we're going to come back with a 50-50 mix of, like I said, this tinny tin and an antique gold. Okay, going back in. Not that I have to do this everywhere, but I want to start to hit the highlights and blend in this gold mix to the miniature, where I'm just going to paint in downward strokes with this other color. think this will give it the effect. None of the recesses, only things that are somewhat visible. This will give it an effect I'm looking for, which is a little bit of a highlight, but really just looks like maybe the tops of everything, or the high areas are a little brighter. The recesses are a little darker. All right, let me get the front of this flag, and then we are going to let it dry. All right, that is what I was looking for. Okay, that looks perfect. So we just need to let that dry. Okay, so now we're going to go for the wash. I am using my Secret Weapon Green. Typically, especially on miniatures, don't need to water this down. It is typically exactly the color and the consistency that you need to have. And I'm just going to start working into the banner first. You can see it just goes right into the recesses, which is exactly what we want. You might have to work an area just a little bit to get it to do exactly what you need to, but this stuff has always been good. When they formulate these washes the right way, it is just perfect. What I typically do is go back in and just pull out any excess. My brush as I dry it in other areas on the miniature. All right, now for the back of the flag, there's less texture here, so you can get away with a little faster with it. Don't have to be so ticky with exactly where it goes. You do want a good bit right around the pole itself. Anything that's a deep recess, you want that wash to be in. In fact, this crevice down the center of the flag definitely needs to be paid attention to. And like I said, that crevice. Once again, I'm kind of just using it on this back to get off a little bit of excess so I can kind of dry up anything that looks a little too thick. That all looks very good. You don't want any bubbles like that bubble there or that one. Make sure you drag those out. But yeah, that's really starting to look like something. For some reason, right in that little section, did not look right. All right, we'll start working on the figure, work on this head, the neck. Need a little bit more of the screen out. Once again, you don't want to get this on the stone if you can help it. Not the end of the world, because you can work back into it, but just hate working back in if you can help it or touch up. But we all know that on miniature stuff, you know, touch up is part of the game. Oh, I'm getting some of the wash down in the other sections. We'll definitely have to touch that up. I didn't realize it's on my thumb. That kind of stinks. You can see it right there. That's awful. Oh well. Like I said, it's all part of it. Just touching up anything like that. Like I said, this wash is very well formulated, so it's very forgivable. You can just run it into really textured areas like this cloak without worry that you're gonna like put too much on or get it in the wrong place, because it is going to work itself out. You can kind of tell if it's piled up. You just move it around to another area. Need to get these bubbles out best I can. If I don't get these drips out, they'll drip onto the base in a minute. Like I said, if some of it drips on the base, it's not bad. It just looks like the same corrosion that's on the rest of it. Has like dripped onto the other, onto the base. All right, that is starting to look excellent. I think we've gotten it everywhere we want to get. All right. So, just to kind of take a look at it, it needs to dry before I do the next step. But that is what it looks like with the green wash on top of that bronze. And it'll make it look like a bronze statue pretty much. I'm going to do one other step where I'm going to draw brush on top of them just to pull out some highlights. But I think overall that is exactly what we wanted. And on the tabletop, it's going to look very cool. While I'm thinking about it, I'm going to touch up this area where I put my thumbprint. Just going back in with that stone color.
Boy, it's being persistent, that's for sure.
Which means I'll probably have to rework some of this section where I got my thumbprint at. Okay. Okay, the last little bit here, we are going to dry brush on. Sorry about the shaking again. And I'm going to use this antique gold on the figure. Just to brighten up edges. All right, that looks very good. All right, so that is what our finished product looks like. I did touch up that column, you know, just so the green was gone. But yeah, that's it. Last step here that I'm going to do is I'm going to get out some flocking and put a little bit of flocking on the miniature in these spots where I colored earlier and around some of the rocks. I'm just putting that wood glue back on in the spots where I want the flocking. I'm going to use a really bushy flocking. Then maybe one right here, one right there. Then over on that side, looks like I just need to put some like right there, maybe one right here. All right, that looks pretty good. Maybe something right there. Okay. Let me grab that flocking and you can see the last step. All right, this is a Woodland Scenics, kind of a dark green. I'm gonna pull it out here so we can take a look at it. It is a clumpy flocking. I'm just going to break it into a little bit smaller pieces, and then I'll work these into those spots. See, I'm just mashing down on each one to kind of get it into the position I want. Let's see here. Do something like that. All right, and then I just need to let that dry. And then I would do a matte varnish finish on the whole thing. Just going to kind of turn it and let you look at that figure one more time on top of the plinth. I think that's going to look excellent on the tabletop. Anyway, thanks for watching, and you know, on the next project, we'll build something really cool for fantasy, the old world. You know, Warhammer the Old World. I really love the game, and I love making pieces like this for my terrain. Talk to you soon.